Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we are looking at a profound cultural shift that is fundamentally reshaping how young people interact with the world. We're going to unpack Generation Z and their growing, frankly, fascinating bond with artificial intelligence. Because this isn't just about using AI to write some code or draft a quick email anymore. We are diving into a space where the line between digital convenience and human intimacy is blurring in ways we have literally never seen before.
All right, I want to kick things off with a number that honestly blew my mind, 43%. According to recent data from the Center for Democracy and Technology, 43% of high schoolers say they, or someone they know, have asked an AI for relationship advice. Nearly half. Just think about that for a second. The classic image of teenagers agonizing over a crush while on the phone with their best friend, it's rapidly being replaced by late-night queries to a chatbot.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today's deep dive. First, the AI confidant boom. Second, why choose a chatbot? Third, the ultimate relationship coach. Fourth, the digital paradox. And finally, risks and ethical concerns.
All right, starting with Section 1, the AI confidant boom.
To really understand this trend, we have to look at the post-COVID environment Gen Z grew up in. They spent formative years navigating the entire world through screens. For them, a digital interface is practically a native language, and the data backs this up perfectly. A recent survey by Observant found that more than 1 in 5 Gen Z and millennials have shared their love life with an AI like ChatGPT. For a generation raised in an always-online culture, confiding in a chatbot feels surprisingly natural. It's a completely frictionless way to process emotions when human connection just feels a bit too heavy or unpredictable.
And when you ask users why they bring their love lives to an AI, the answers are actually super logical, almost clinical even. 44% are looking for actionable tips, 42% want pure objectivity, and 35% just want an opinion that's different from their friends' takes. They aren't necessarily logging on for a digital hug, you know? They're looking for a structured, rational approach to the deeply, wonderfully irrational world of romance.
Which brings us to Section 2, why choose a chatbot?
Let's be real for a second. Human relationships carry a lot of heavy emotional weight. Venting to a human friend is subjective. It requires emotional labor from both sides, and there is always that underlying fear of judgment or just plain fatigue. As one user pointed out, friends eventually get tired of hearing about the exact same relationship problems over and over. But an AI chatbot? It is 100% objective, it's available 24/7, and most importantly, it requires zero emotional labor to interact with. It is a completely friction-free, non-judgmental space. I want to read you this quote from Lee Jung Mo. She's a 24-year-old university student featured in a global news report, and she says, "It remembers everything about me. I can talk to it 24/7. It requires no emotional labor. Honestly, I can call it one of my best friends." I mean, wow, that just brilliantly captures how effortlessly AI fits into daily life now. It functions as this one-sided, perfectly predictable personal assistant that literally never gets exhausted by your problems.
Moving right along to Section 3, the ultimate relationship coach.
Let's look at the practical, real-world ways people are actually using ChatGPT to navigate the messy realities of their romantic lives. Take this incredibly striking anecdote from a Reddit community focused on recovering from toxic relationships. A user took a deeply emotional text argument and fed it straight into ChatGPT with this prompt. "This is a series of messages from a conversation with my narcissistic ex-partner. Can you please tell me if you see any phrases within the quoted text that could be considered manipulative?" They took the abstract idea of AI advice and turned it into a highly concrete tool for emotional triage. And get this, look at the AI's response. It replied, "This conversation highlights several concerning patterns: denial of responsibility, gaslighting, emotional manipulation." By providing this structured, evidence-based feedback, the chatbot acts almost like a mirror. It validates the user's reality and helps them feel grounded when they were previously second-guessing themselves. It literally takes the chaos of human emotion and organizes it into digestible data points.
Now, what's really fascinating is how this behavior shifts depending on the user's demographic. The Observant data shows that women are significantly more likely to use AI to understand complex feelings and situations. About 21% prioritize that. Men, on the other hand, prioritize self-improvement tips at 22%, and 27% are much more likely to ask the AI for advice on spicing up their sex lives. So you have different demographics turning to the exact same tool, but for entirely different, highly personalized relationship needs.
Okay, let's pivot a bit to Section 4. The digital paradox. Prepare yourself for a little thematic whiplash here.
We have just explored this hyper-digital world of AI confidants, right? But as research from the Literariness Journal points out, this digitally native generation is simultaneously experiencing profound digital fatigue. They are saturated with screens. And because of this, we are actually seeing a massive revival of vintage, tactile experiences. We're talking about the absolute explosion in popularity of vinyl records, analog film cameras, and physical photo booths.
To really understand this, we need to define a crucial term, anemoia. It essentially means having nostalgia for a time or era you have never personally experienced. Gen Z is mourning and actively seeking out the tangible, analog imperfections of eras they only know through digitized, algorithmically curated fragments. They want the crackle of the vinyl and the grain of the film because it feels permanent.
So let's connect the dots here for a second. We have a generation seeking frictionless, perfectly accommodating AI for their complex emotional offloading, precisely because human relationships require so much heavy labor. But to find deliberate, meaningful authenticity, to seek substance in an age of surfaces, they turn to physical, analog media. They want their technology to be humanized with imperfections and their human relationships to be smoothed out by perfect technology. It's a wild paradox.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, Risks and Ethical Concerns.
As you might expect when looking at the source material, experts are raising some serious ethical warnings about this level of digital reliance. First up is what's known as the yes man default. AI models are generally programmed to be agreeable and helpful, but in a mental health or relationship context, that can be a very high-stakes catch. If a lonely or distressed teen is confiding in a chatbot, the AI might simply agree with and reinforce their negative thoughts. It acts as a dangerous echo chamber rather than providing the healthy, sometimes difficult pushback a real human friend or therapist would offer.
The sources present a very real list of dangers regarding AI dependency. OpenAI themselves have warned about the risk of harmful outputs or hallucinations in longer conversations. There is absolutely no legal confidentiality here. Everything you type is data. And as we've seen with recent data breaches in South Korea, privacy is never guaranteed. Furthermore, critics point out the severe risks of over-attachment to a machine that entirely lacks human morals. Tragically, there are currently lawsuits, including one regarding the death of a 16-year-old in the US, alleging that severe over-reliance on a chatbot's advice contributed to self-harm.
So, what should you take away from all this? Well, end today's explainer with this memorable, highly provocative question. Are we trading authenticity for algorithmic affection? As Gen Z navigates the heavy emotional lifting of the modern world by leaning on the frictionless support of AI, it forces all of us to look closely at our own digital habits and ponder the future of true human connection. Definitely something to think about the next time you ask a machine for advice. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive.